You wake up at 3:12 in the morning because somebody just whispered your name. Not loud, not screaming, just barely enough to pull you out of sleep. You wake up. You open your eyes instantly. Your room is dark, silent, but your heart is already pounding because for a split second, you genuinely thought somebody was standing next to your bed. You stare into the corner of the room. Nothing there, probably. That's the problem. You never fully know anymore. And after a while, your brain stops asking, was that real? And starts asking, what if it was? People think schizophrenia means you completely lose your mind, like you're screaming at walls or talking nonsense 24/7. Most people living with schizophrenia don't look like that. A lot of them look completely normal. They go to work, stand in line at grocery stores, reply, "You too," when the waiter says, "Enjoy your meal." You could walk past somebody with schizophrenia every single day and never notice. Because the scariest part isn't looking crazy, it's trying to look normal while your brain slowly stops trusting reality. That's what people don't understand. The condition doesn't just create hallucinations, it destroys certainty. And once certainty disappears, every little thing starts feeling dangerous. A laugh behind you, a car parked outside too long, two strangers looking at each other after you walk past. Your brain starts connecting dots that probably aren't connected, probably. And that word becomes your entire life, probably. Because schizophrenia doesn't usually arrive all at once. It creeps in quietly. At first, it just feels like anxiety, stress, paranoia. You start overthinking conversations, sleeping less, avoiding people. Then slowly, your own thoughts stop feeling safe. And that's where things begin to get terrifying. But mornings are usually the worst, not because of the voices, because of the first 5 seconds after waking up, before you remember what's real. The alarm goes off at 7:30. You don't get out of bed immediately. You stay still first, listening. That becomes a habit, listening for movement, voices, footsteps, anything unusual. You check your phone, no missed calls, no messages. Good. For most people, that means nothing. For you, it's relief. Because sometimes your brain convinces you people are talking about you online or secretly messaging each other about you. Even silence becomes suspicious. You eventually force yourself into the bathroom. The mirror is rough in the mornings. Sometimes you look normal. Other days, you don't fully feel connected to your own face. Like you're controlling somebody else's body from slightly behind their eyes. It's hard to explain unless you felt it. Everything feels half a second delayed, like reality has bad internet connection. You shower. The water helps. Noise helps sometimes. Silence gives your brain too much room. That's another thing people don't realize. Schizophrenia isn't always loud chaos. Sometimes it's quiet, too quiet, and your brain fills the silence itself. So you keep YouTube videos running constantly, podcasts, music, background noise, anything to keep your thoughts from echoing too loudly. You make coffee. You double-check the front door lock 3 times before leaving, not because you forgot, because certainty disappears fast. You start walking to work. Then comes the exhausting part, public spaces. Because schizophrenia makes you hyper-aware of people. Every laugh feels personal. Every glance feels loaded. Every whisper sounds intentional. You enter a coffee shop. 2 people near the window laugh at something. Your brain immediately says, they're talking about you. Logically, you know they probably aren't. Emotionally, it feels completely real. And schizophrenia is exhausting because logic and emotion stop agreeing with each other, constantly. That internal war drains you more than people understand. By noon, you already feel mentally exhausted. And then the auditory stuff starts. Usually subtle at first. You hear somebody say your name, but nobody did. A faint conversation from another room. A sentence you can't fully make out. You freeze. Listen carefully. Nothing. But the damage is already done, because now your brain is locked onto it. And once that happens, it's hard to let go. But nights are where things really begin falling apart. Night changes everything. The world gets quieter, which means your brain gets louder. You get home around 8. Lock the door, check the windows, close the curtains. That routine becomes automatic, not because you want it to, because your brain constantly searches for threats. You try watching TV, but concentrating becomes harder now. Words blur together. Your thoughts interrupt everything. What was that noise? Did somebody knock? Why did that car stop outside? The paranoia is difficult to explain because part of you knows it sounds irrational, but fear doesn't care about logic. Your body reacts anyway. Heart racing, sweaty palms, adrenaline, like your nervous system is permanently stuck in survival mode. Then comes the worst part, the voices. And no, they're not always dramatic movie-style voices screaming evil things. Sometimes they're subtle, a whisper, a mumble, a sentence from another room. Sometimes it sounds exactly like somebody you know. That's what makes it terrifying, because it feels real. You hear, they know. You instantly look toward the hallway. Silence. Your chest tightens. Now your brain starts building stories around that sentence. Who knows? What do they know? Are people watching me? Did I do something wrong? And schizophrenia feeds itself. One thought becomes 10. 10 becomes a full reality. That's why isolation becomes dangerous. Because when you're alone too long, your thoughts start getting challenged. And eventually your brain starts treating fear like evidence. You stop answering calls, stop replying to friends, because social interaction becomes exhausting when you're constantly trying to hide what's happening in your head. You become an actor, pretending everything is fine, laughing at the right moments, nodding during conversations, trying desperately to look normal. But internally, you're monitoring every sound, every expression, every tiny detail. And eventually, you stop trusting yourself. That's the part people rarely talk about. Schizophrenia destroys your confidence in your own perception. You can't fully trust what you hear, see, think, feel. Imagine living every day knowing your own brain can lie to you convincingly. That changes a person, slowly, completely, and eventually, sleep becomes terrifying too, because that's when reality gets the weakest. The loneliness is probably the hardest part, not physical loneliness, psychological loneliness. Because even surrounded by people, you feel separated from them, like there's invisible glass between your world and everyone else's. You stop explaining what's happening because people react strangely. Some get uncomfortable, some think you're dangerous, others don't believe you at all. You're overthinking. Just relax. Everybody gets anxious. But schizophrenia isn't normal anxiety. Anxiety makes you fear something might happen. Schizophrenia makes your brain feel like it already is happening. That difference matters a lot. You start questioning every memory, every interaction. Did that really happen? Did I imagine that conversation? Was that person actually staring at me? Eventually, your brain becomes exhausting to live inside. And medication can help. Therapy can help. But people rarely talk about the trade-offs. Some medications make you feel emotionally numb, like somebody turned the volume of your personality down. The voices get quieter. But sometimes so does everything else. Excitement, emotion, motivation. Some people stop taking medication because they miss feeling like themselves. Then symptoms return, harder, and that cycle ruins lives. Jobs disappear, relationships collapse. Friends slowly drift away because they don't understand what's happening. And the saddest part, a lot of people with schizophrenia are painfully aware something is wrong. They're not crazy in the way movies portray. Many are intelligent, self-aware, terrified. Imagine realizing your own brain is becoming unreliable while still being trapped inside it. That's horrifying. Some days are manageable. Other days, reality feels slippery, like your thoughts are walking on ice. And stress makes everything worse. Lack of sleep, isolation, arguments, substances. One bad week can spiral fast. That's why routines become survival tools. Wake up, coffee, walk, medication, noise, distraction, anything to stay grounded. Because when schizophrenia gets severe, the world starts feeling dreamlike, disconnected, like reality itself has become unstable. And once that happens, even mirrors start feeling uncomfortable. Movies turn schizophrenia into horror entertainment, but real schizophrenia is usually less dramatic and much adder. Because most people living with it are not dangerous. Statistically, they're far more likely to hurt themselves than anyone else. That's the tragedy. The condition destroys trust, relationships, identity, stability. And one of the most painful parts is watching your old self slowly disappear. You remember who you used to be, more social, more relaxed, more connected. Then slowly, your world gets smaller. You avoid crowds, then friends, then phone calls, then sunlight, until your apartment becomes your entire universe, and even that doesn't feel safe anymore. Some people lose jobs because concentrating becomes impossible. Others struggle to maintain relationships because paranoia creates constant misunderstandings. Imagine loving somebody deeply while your brain keeps telling you they secretly hate you. That tension destroys people emotionally, and the exhaustion never fully leaves because your brain is constantly scanning for danger, constantly analyzing, constantly questioning reality. You can never completely relax. Even during good periods, part of you worries it could get bad again. That fear stays with you, always. And the hardest thing to explain? Sometimes you know the thought isn't rational, but your body still believes it. That split between logic and fear is torture, because you become trapped between two realities at once, the rational one and the terrifying one your brain keeps building. By midnight, the apartment is quiet again. You're lying in bed staring at the ceiling, listening, always listening. The city outside sounds distant, cars passing, a dog barking somewhere far away, pipes moving inside the walls. Then you hear something else, a whisper, maybe. You sit up immediately, heart pounding, silence. You wait another few seconds, nothing. And eventually, you lie back down again. That's schizophrenia for a lot of people. Not constant chaos, not movie scenes, just a slow, exhausting war between your brain and your ability to trust it, every single day. And maybe the cruelest part is this: most people around you will never know it's happening, because tomorrow morning, you'll still get up, still put your shoes on, still answer, "I'm good," when somebody asks how you're doing, while fighting a battle nobody else can see. And after a while, you stop hoping people fully understand. You just hope your mind lets you have one quiet day, one normal day, one day where reality finally feels stable again.